Welcome in for another edition of the Morning Espresso here on the SDH Network. I'm Jason Longshore, and as always, the Morning Espresso is brought to you by our friends at Oglethorpe University, Atlanta's premier undergraduate learning experience and soccer powerhouse. We had a lot of things to talk about locally and nationally and internationally from the weekend. So bear with me a little bit. You might need an extra cup of espresso. I'm sure you're not going to mind that extra caffeine. Might help you through a Monday where here in Atlanta we got some storms coming later in the day. Hopefully, everybody stays safe and avoids the crazy traffic that's going to result from storms. Good luck. We're all counting on you. All right, let's talk about Atlanta United from the weekend. A weird game. One of the weirdest I've ever called. The worst performance of the season in terms of overall quality, but a result and a win. Go figure, right? That's what's so hard about this game, isn't it? You can play great like this team has in previous matches and not get anything to show for it. And you can make a lot of mistakes and not play as well and not look as good as you have in general, but win. A lot of mistakes in this game, and both teams were forcing the issue to create some of the mistakes. Don't get me wrong, but it ends up going Atlanta's way 4-3. All three goals that were conceded were from mistakes. Two from Derek Williams, one from Dominic Chonqui, who was a last-minute starter when Pedro Amador pulled a quad in pregame warmups and could not start. Chonqui, I thought, was actually pretty good outside of the mistake that he made on goal number 3 for NYC, a cross that gets all the way through to the back post. Poor touch from Chonqui, and NYC pounces, and Hannes Wolf gets his second goal of the night, and it's 3-1 there, and it looks like NYC is going to win, and narratives were probably already being written. Atlanta didn't look good for the first 45 to 60 minutes in general, in my opinion. They dropped off too much, and maybe they were hesitant because of the mistakes that caused the goals to be conceded. Maybe that pressure of playing at home, not playing well. Sometimes teams can come into a game fully prepared and good week of training, all those things. And this week was not that because you had international duty and guys just coming back in. That's maybe one reason why things were so disjointed at times was everybody was kind of in different levels of calibration. Guys who had just gotten back in late in the week, guys who had played a lot during international break, guys who didn't play a lot. It felt all over the place, and NYC wasn't immune to it either. But the team felt in a way suffocated by where the score line was. And I was surprised at how much they dropped off. I was surprised at the lack of pressure at times. I was surprised at the lack of urgency at times. Well, the subs that came after the third goal started to shake things up a little bit. Xande Silva, Matt Edwards came on for Mateusz Klich and Dominic Chonqui. They brought a big spark to the left side, which also then created some activation on the right side with Saba going over to that side. His running, his energy really started to give the team something to rally around. Both sides, the width started to give the team something to use. And Saba created the own goal from Keaton Parks that made it 3-2. Silva and Edwards combined to create Miggy's goal. That made it 3-3. I thought Alexey Miranchuk was great throughout the match, whether he was playing as a 10 or in a deeper role. And just to be clear, you made that change because you're down 3-1. It's going to be a conversation and it's going to be an issue if, as a lot of people are saying without explaining fully, if you just drop Miranchuk, who has not played as a 6, and remember, this is a double pivot situation. It's not a 6 and 8 and a 10. It's two sixes in the way that Ronnie Dyla has wanted to play. Maybe that changes. But if you drop Miranchuk to a deeper role, you're asking him to defend in a way that he's really worked hard defensively, but that's not his natural game. He's never really played it. So you're going to need to keep the ball more. You're going to need to slow things down and not get exposed defensively if you drop an offensive player into a deeper role with more defensive responsibilities. And that's a big change to the way that the team plays. You can go bombing forward and have fun when it's 3-1 down, and you got to go for the game. What about when it's 0-0? What about when you're 1-0 down? What about when you're 1-0 up? How do those things work in those areas? That's the big picture conversation that we got to have at times. And that's the big picture conversation that doesn't show up in a tweet. That's a big picture conversation. It doesn't show up in a hot take. So just keep in mind that moving one player around on the field isn't a video game move. There's a lot of knock on effects from it. In this game, you had to do it because of the situation, and it worked. The other big thing I wanted to talk about was beyond Miranchuk being good wherever he played in this game. He did get a goal when he was playing higher up the field, by the way. Latte Lath, you have to love it if you are Ronnie Dyla to look at your team and see your top three earners in Latte Lath and Miguel Almirón in Alexey Miranchuk and add Saba as the fourth. And you see four guys who work extremely hard. They all do the running defensively. They all do the running off the ball. They all put in a shift. That's not always the case. When you have top attacking talents who aren't having a good day, and I didn't think Latte Lath had a great day up until the goal. He had a great day in terms of work, but he gets the goal. He gets the reward for the work. He had some poor touches. It just wasn't his day. That happens sometimes for every player. But he forced the issue. And the winning goal is look, it's a ball over the top and he's chasing. He puts pressure on it. Matt Freese is unsteady. Thiago Martins is unsteady. You go back and you look at it, I thought it was all on Martins watching the replay. You're going to get a debate, and Matt Doyle posted it in his column of some people will blame the goalkeeper in that, some people will blame the center back in that. If you watch it, Freese is at the top of the 18 when the ball is played by Xande, and then he drops, which is strange. But in the midst of it, and I think this is what frustrated Martins, is he sees Freese take a step towards the ball and then stop. And I think when he takes that step, Martins decides to try to seal Latte Lath off for Freese to come get it. When Freese takes the step in and drops, Martins is dead, Freese is dead, and Latte Lath gets to it and scores. Bad communication all the way around, bad organization between the two of them. I think the mistake is on both of them, not just one or the other, but it's all created because of Latte Lath's work rate. So now, after a lesser performance, you get a better result, and you have to build on this. And I think the thing you're looking to build on is the energy that you saw when the team went 3-1 down, the lack of giving up, the response to things. That's what was impressive here. And that gives you something. When you're not having a great day on the field in terms of quality, that gives you something to lean into, knowing that that can be enough sometimes to go get results. You also got good depth and contributions from Will Riley coming on late, Jay Fortune coming into the match and playing really well, Matt Edwards playing a third different position this season, showing that he can contribute wherever he is on the field. And yes, Dominic Chanqui getting a good performance outside of one big mistake made by a 17-year-old. Atlanta United gets the 4-3 win over NYC. Plenty more that is going to be said about this today on SDH AM. That starts at 9:05 with John Nelson and many other visitors talking about the match. Also, I'll be talking about it again, of course, on Atlanta Soccer tonight. Tomorrow night, back in our normal Tuesday slot on 92.9 The Game. Talk about that later. All right, MLS the rest of the weekend as we bounce around in the morning espresso. Miami, their win over Philadelphia. What an opening goal from Miami. Super connected passing. And then you get Lionel Messi as a super sub. He scores 2 minutes after coming on. Miami takes control of the Eastern Conference with the win. San Diego, they're the bosses of Southern California right now. They beat LA Galaxy on the road earlier in the season. They beat LAFC in San Diego 3-2 in front of a sellout crowd at Snapdragon Stadium. Mikey Veras, after the game, he's saying 50 years from now, the club's going to be a giant. I know it. It's not going to be, it's going to be a giant, not just an MLS. Mikey Veras is excited after this win. You can't blame him. It's a huge win. The idiots fighting afterwards, and especially if you've seen the videos, the idiots who like to take cheap shots at people and run away after that, the wannabe tough guys, always impressive to see as I turn the sarcasm filter on. Just really extremely stupid. And people who think that's part of soccer culture and that's a good thing for the game in this country, delete your accounts. LAFC is in a weird situation right now. So they have a bad loss here. They're getting ready for CONCACAF as they're going to play Miami this week. They'll host Miami in the midweek. Also, it looks like they're going to be in a one-game playoff for a spot at the Club World Cup. They're going to play Club America, according to reports. Leon is appealing the ruling from FIFA that they have the same owner, and that makes them ineligible with Pachuca, Grupo Pachuca. They didn't do the things to separate themselves enough to satisfy everybody. That is being appealed. If that appeal is denied, then it will be LAFC and Club America, according to reports, in a one-game playoff to go to the Club World Cup. What's at stake besides just a spot in the tournament? $9.55 million. This will be the most expensive game that an MLS team will have ever played for. Okay, a little bit of pressure on LAFC. Also on the LAFC side off the field, Antoine Griezmann. He is meeting with Atletico Madrid this week. He's trying to decide if he's going to do a new deal with Atleti or join LAFC in the summer. He's not opposed to staying at Atleti for at least another year, but according to Loic Tanzi of L'Equipe, he's not going to stay for the same amount of money because, according to Tanzi, the more lucrative offer right now is LAFC, according to reports out of France. So stay tuned. We will see if Antoine Griezmann is coming to LA in the summer, or maybe ahead of the Club World Cup, or going to stay at Atleti for another year. Another story from MLS over the weekend, Sporting Kansas City, they fall to 0-5-1 on the season, a loss to Dallas. Lucho Acosta becomes the seventh player in MLS history to record at least 75 goals and 75 assists. Sporting Kansas City is in a mess of a situation, another awful losing streak to start the season, and now you're getting statements being made by supporters groups asking for Peter Vermes to step down. Stay tuned. It's not a tenable situation for Sporting Kansas City right now, and we'll see what moves they make, if any, because it's not the first time either. This has been a bad start to start the season. It just has not gelled for SKC. Atlanta United 2 yesterday, a 2-2 draw with Chattanooga. They lost the post-match shootout for the bonus point. Came back twice in the game. Rodrigo Neri came off the bench. The second goal was beautiful. Ball over the top from Javier Armas. Came in Togashi, got his second assist, heading it down. And Neri with a ridiculous side volley to put that one home to make it 2-2, go into the shootout. And in the shootout, Eldin Jakupovic, the goalkeeper for Chattanooga FC, with 2 saves to earn the bonus point. Togashi with 2 assists, Neri with 2 goals, Carmichael and Armas with good secondary assists. Atlanta was the better team. Chattanooga got 2 goals, somewhat against the run of play. A good rebound from Keegan Anselin, and that was the second one on a break after a nice save from Josh Cohen, who got his first game in 2025. And the first one, a shot that looked like it took a deflection off of Morales, but it was actually Nagelstad who redirected a wayward shot from Tate Robertson into the back of the net. Atlanta was the better team, but we've talked about this season a lot, where Atlanta United has played really well but hasn't gotten the full reward for that. And Atlanta United 2 fell into that yesterday. Other news as we wrap up the morning espresso, the Orlando Pride in the NWSL, they are 3-0-0, 2-1 win over the Utah Royals. Marta with a Panenka from the penalty spot in the 76th minute to win it. San Antonio, they are the only team in the USL Championship that is unbeaten and untied. Their best start ever. They were down 2-0 after 16 minutes to Lexington SC, came back to win 3-2 in that one. We talked about it last week. PSG's owners looking at buying Malaga in the Spanish second division. Well, Liverpool's owners, the Fenway Sports Group, they have joined the fray, and they are checking out Malaga. Delegation was sent to give them the once-over in the last month, according to reports. So maybe a little bit of a bidding war for Malaga. They'll be pretty happy about that. Also, if you're Liverpool fans, you're looking at your ownership group trying to buy another club when you have Salah, Van Dijk, Alexander-Arnold, all out of contract in the summer. Priorities? I don't know. Barcelona, they are unbeaten in 2025, 20 games without recording a loss this year under Hansi Flick. They have a 3-point lead at the top of La Liga after a 4-1 win over Girona. Robert Lewandowski, he scored twice, 38 goals in all competitions this season. I don't know if Real Madrid or Atleti can catch Barcelona in La Liga. It looks like in Serie A, you have a two-horse race now as Atalanta, third place, they lost their second straight game to Fiorentina 1-0. They're 9 points back. It's down to Napoli trying to chase Inter. Matteo Politano and Romelu Lukaku scored first half goals. Second half penalty save by Alex Miranchuk on Santiago Jimenez, and Napoli beat Milan in Naples 2-1 for a big, big win. 3 points off of the leaders, Inter, who beat Udinese 2-1 earlier in the day. Marco Rose in RB Leipzig, he has been sacked in the Bundesliga. 1-0 loss to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Great start to the year for Leipzig, but they've been in a slump basically since November. Bad results in the Champions League. They've won 2 of their last 11 in the Bundesliga, and now getting back into next year's Champions League is in danger. They're behind Frankfurt and they're behind Mainz in the standings. That was enough to force the issue, and Ross is let go from Leipzig. Dorival Jr., also, as we talked about on the Espresso last week, he was sacked in Brazil after the awful loss in Argentina. The 62-year-old had been in charge since January of 2024, has not looked good for Brazil in general for a while. He's part of the issue, not the only issue. And honestly, if you were looking at a normal World Cup here with 32 teams, Brazil's qualification would be in danger. They're going to get in this expanded format, but they would be in a really tough spot if you didn't have the expanded format. In Brazil this weekend, the Serie A got started, first weekend of the league season. And interestingly, the preseason predictions from Globo, the leading sports paper, the top 8 favorites in the league all did not win on the opening weekend. So maybe MLS isn't the only league in this hemisphere with a whole lot of parity. Brazil should be an interesting watch this season in the Brasileiro. All right, that's going to do it for me on this edition of the Morning Espresso. SDH AM kicking off at 9:05 on YouTube and on Twitch and on X. Lots of content coming this week from the SDH Network. Stay tuned. Lots of high school games as well that we will be calling all over the metro Atlanta area and the state. So make sure you're following Soccer Down here on all your social media platforms. Make sure you are subscribed to us here on YouTube. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow with another cup of Morning Espresso, presented by Oglethorpe University.